his general right now. There are hundreds of thousands of holes. After a while, it finally dissipates. After his minister vanished, the centipedes are still bobbing up from under the water. Then it comes back to the body of the Kier. Tran Hung saw all the cold faces. The essence of this saddle, of course, is cold. After the appearance, the other looked at Tran Hung. It's rare for a lab test. He died 2 years like you. But it can be hidden. Inspection of the mule bar. Continue to stay in the East as a martial artist. This is really about Ra. It's also unbelievable. Tran Hung heard that and asked again. Why do you know that I died 2 years ago? Whispered in my head. Even when they die, they always know. It is also said that the case exists. Related to them, SAO. Just as he thought, the enemy also has no secrets to say casually. It's not so obvious. Even though you may have forgotten. 2 years ago in the East. We've met before. Tell me, your life is too big. Your head hit the poison of Lai Hyan. When you go to the pharmacy to buy medicine, I put something in the medicine. But you don't. On the contrary, the body is healthy. Then, together with the martial arts squad of the government organization, to go down to the grave of justice. I was really surprised at the time. The most incredible thing is, first, the warriors went with you to the grave. They're all dead. You are the only one who turns into a corpse. I have lived so well until now. More than 2 years ago. That's you. They appear again in front of us. What fate do you say this is? Chen Hung listened to him and slowly withdrew from the lecture. A flower on a tree branch. The world is rapidly disappearing. Small eyes look at the enemy. I really have to thank God. Maybe we can get to this place. Make the past clear. The guy who heard him was a little funny. It has fallen at this time. You feel like you still have the win. It's really interesting. Chen Hung shouted loudly to reduce the war. Follow this shout. Immediately from above him. That's the heaven. Add to that, he also directly uses the gas to strengthen himself. I can see the power coming out of Tran Hung. Young people are a little scared. Combination of gas and lightning. Be careful of his speed. Tran Hung's whole body was red. There is no stopping electricity around you. 2 handles, 2 simple lugs. The gas doesn't hide anything. Coldly looking at the enemy. End the cause and effect. The young man in the red coat did not answer, but slowly control his army of centipedes. Crawl back to Tran Hung. But when his cold crawled in front of the Tran Hung disappeared on the spot. It's so fast that every time it stops, I can't see his body either. The young man couldn't believe it. This speed is too fast. Give him plenty of time to react. After a few runs around, Chen Xing appeared behind him. He had absolutely no chance of evading. Chen Hung with one hand swung out his head and left his neck. I still underestimate his speed. Tran Hung looked at the headless body of Kier aesthetic. It worked. But without waiting for him to rejoice, the sound of the enemy was heard again. Not simple. You just invented the technique yourself, didn't you? It's a little interesting. Chen Shang saw the head. Talking to me. It's terrifying. Maybe, but you've already left her. You haven't discovered Ra yet, have you? Oh yeah, I forgot. You don't have fire label Venus of martial artist level a peak. It's impossible to see through the nature of the insect's body. Chen Shang heard that and was even more surprised. What does an insect's body mean? Use an explanation to help you understand at this point. Meaning, I stand in front of you, not the real me. It's a second body made of millions of centipedes. Just like he said, the Kier centipedes gathered again after that. Raise your head. Very fast young man, red shirt perfect. He appeared in front of Tran Hung. Your power, though very strong. But I can only break my body. Before the centipedes form, my body is dead. My body can't die. Chen Hong heard the cold eyes look at the enemy. Then kill them all. Then pick it up again. The air doesn't stop coming out. The young man in red said that. It is useless to make up for the shortcomings of the body. Like fear of thunder, fear of fire, 200 years ago, we have been dedicated to the skin, not a little lightning thickening. Thunder, thunder, though NDTO. But it's still in range VI we can deal with. Don't fight anymore. You don't have a chance. Tran Hung, the air in my body is still cold. You need to cut your hair and go to war, you know. And then it's like this, and it's like this. After a moment, the door of the government opened. From inside, countless centipedes slowly crawling raw. Then spread the four sides away from the city. Wait until they're all out. The door to the government is closed again. On the side of the city, the great Han is still sitting here guarding the dwarf. After a while, his spirit returned. Both eyes immediately opened. When he woke up, he asked. Solved SAO, then solved. The harsh side of Tai Bar. I was so fooled by my words. You have to use the magic stick. French general. Although he also used other trump cards afterwards. But they add up before and after. I've only killed over 100,000 of my centipedes. If you hear that, it's a bit of a compliment. That's quite a lot. Give him a few more dollars. Coordinate with some support tools. Let him have a chance to find your weakness. Your insect body will probably die in Taiyan district. That's not necessarily from the Tai Taoist War. Our insect bodies have never been 7. Under disaster, it has absolutely no death angle, Han said. They're just under disaster. Move the scene to the east, A. The next day I went to the inn. Ask for the news of Tran Hung. Your master hasn't returned yet. 2 brothers and sisters, 10 bright face, moody nod. If you see that, you also fall into the trap. The face also dropped. After a while he spoke up. Then I will send a letter to the city. We will then inform the people of H Church. You're waiting at the inn for my news. 10 hearing that, he nodded in agreement. Save wind later. Then he went back to the dentist and arranged everything. Waiting for the wind to leave, I turned around to ask 10 questions. CA, you said? Master, isn't he coming back? 10 quick kindness to smile comforting. No, master, he's so strong. It's definitely not going to happen. When he returned, he immediately called the servant to inquire. This letter to Cho Liao City must be taken to. Kite later. It's a straight line to the city. On the side of the city, the red shirts are in the academy. Then suddenly, I saw the hawks flying by. He immediately realized that this was a government letter. A few days later, the man, bring back a lake head. When he got back, he asked the people who had my letter. It was sent by AI. A middle-aged man answered a letter from the east. When you go into the mountains and kill a tiger. We have received it. He just finished. The boy next door brought a letter to the master. He immediately opened the letter. After seeing it, the face is a bit unsightly. On the side of the academy of the 2 red dwarves. Sitting in the barbecue, Han is sitting there reading something. I saw my friend sitting there thinking. The dwarf raised the chicken in his hand and asked, would you like to eat some? He looked at the second leaf in his hand. Not in the mood at all. You eat alone. When the dwarf heard that, he opened his mouth to avoid the rooster. But I saw Han staring at me. He's a little confused. Stop asking. Then he immediately said, wrestling before you go. Alerted the local government. He has now lost contact. Dong and suspects the Taiyan district has a dangerous source of disaster. The devil does not know how to make martial arts 7. They chose to bring it all up. Even though the first letter was blocked by me. But it's hard to guarantee there will be no second or third letter. The dwarf was surprised to hear that. What to do? He burned the letter in his hand. I'll give you an envelope to keep them. Wait a few days. We're going east to deal with this. The dwarf also has no opinion of continuing to eat chicken. Listen to me, and I'll leave a few days later. Send an envelope. I am glad to announce the news to you too. The two of you saw him coming and ran out. Waiting to see. Speak out quickly. Bar in the city. Sentai magic tricks. Fortune teller, a hexagonal life and death for Mr. Tran. The conclusion is that Mr. Chen is not Sao. He's just locked up somewhere. Only in Taiyan district. Over there, the cow we prepare the supplies that Mr. Chen used to. Waiting for them to call. The penitentiary team will take you by the way. Based on the tools that Mr. Chen used. High trick monster action go Theo. I can locate Mr. Chen. And the location of demons in Taiyan district. The 10-year-old is breathing right now. No, it's good. At this time, there was a sound coming from outside. Everyone is here, Sao. People can hear the sound. Then turn your head and look out. Who came? It's the new Taoist noise that comes from Liao City. 10 good people saw him a little surprised. The young man came to rub his head. I haven't seen you in 2 years. Why do you like rubbing my head? A moment later, he turned around and asked for advice. I saw the letter you sent. Specifically, Sao. Save face style seriously say Ra. Mr. Chen received someone else's trust. To hung Zack of millions of families in Taiyan district. Take one thing. He said if he hadn't come back in 7 days. When it came to this, the Lord interrupted. If you're not back in 7 days, send me a letter. He told me to go to the county to find him, right? Yes, but the police just answered. They said Mr. Chen is still in no danger to his life. Just locked up in Taiyan district. They're going to assemble a rescue team recently. When the teacher heard it, he glared his eyes. Don't listen to the hungry people in the sky. If their magic is really that powerful. The martial artists on our front lines. Not to the point of being gradually devastated. This can't go on any longer. I also want to go to Taiyan district. 10 good people now raise their hands seriously. I also want to go now that I'm a B-class fighter. I can definitely help the disdainful people. If you look at B-level, it is only B-level. Then I looked at the wind. You sent me a letter. Don't tell others first. Including the mule bar. To hear that is surprising. What you mean is a guess, not sure. After we get to level A, I know through another way. In 15, report handling part of the demon eunuch, Hanam Dao. The temple may not be the temple. There was a huge mistake in the performance of Hanam Dao. If you just collect 10 documents, there are more than 10 sources of evil. Appearance, very large error. The demon squad appeared. Serious casualties will arise. There's 2 possibilities. One is that the yin and yang of Henan Tao is out of balance. The problem of hidden motives is exacerbated. The error of the fortune teller also changed greatly. The second is that someone quietly reduced the power in Hanam Dao. At the same time on the side of the city, two men in red robes stand in the plaza, looking up at the sky. After a while, the great Han spoke. It's time to start and move back. After listening to the teacher, ask, so what are you going to do? I'm going to pretend to be a cowboy. Go to Tai'an district to observe. If the situation is so serious, you have to contact the person who picked me up at the bar. Let their master take over the work of destroying demons in Tai'an district. Ask the wind, is there anything we can help you with? After I went to the city, if you send people over here, Dante mentioned me in front of them. If possible, the Lord has a disciple. It's that these two kids are better off hiding. The two people in front are talking. The 10-year-old is also whispering something. After listening to everything, he agreed. Millet is not a problem. After a while, the driver got into the carriage. Prepare to leave. 10 demon exile, standing on one side of the farewell. Before he left, he didn't forget to ask, if we're not back in 7 days, take this to the next level. To report to the King of Heaven. Keep your head 10 points continuously. Waving goodbye. The young man immediately drove the horse away. Wait for the carriage to go away, and then turn around and ask 10 Deem. That's right, your CA. Why didn't he come here to see you off? I didn't tell you. Wait until the chariot goes out into the forest. I love being next to the new guy. The result is, you still silently accept the actions of the boy Kier. The master smiled at it. You look out. If a living person touches it. My nose is so sensitive. Maybe you can't smell it. But at the very least, he's a middle-class calf. It's actually a little weak. Hidden risks in Tai'an district. It's not a grade B that can stand. You told him to follow us. I'm not afraid of him dying in the county. Then you can talk to Tran Hungra Sao. He glanced at it, or didn't say it twice. The risks are clear. He did not listen to my advice. Follow us to Tai'an district to find our master. He has perfect kindness for him. It's not about doing what's so much more than this trip to Tai'an district. My original plan was to observe. There's no intention of engaging with native eunuchs. Weatherby aura is not very different. The little cat with her eyes closed sighed. Okay, but you'd better watch it a little. I feel that boy. It's not going to be that kind of quiet listening to the commander. Don't worry, I have already calculated it in my heart. Inside the carriage filled with all kinds of stuff. 10 good things are now coming out of a jar, sticking out of Ra's head. Then you quietly go out. Excited face when successful follow. Without being detected by AI. Just out of Central. The sound of the receiver has arrived. Get out, you don't have to hide anymore. 10 good startled. When did you find out I was hiding in the car? The Taoist replied casually. Discovered from the beginning. 10 depressed people came to sit next to him. Out from the beginning. I couldn't get through your eyes. The wise man quickly said. This time I went to Thailand. I don't know what's going to happen. But beyond that, we haven't lived enough. I feel maybe. You too, I will help you. It is because I owe your master a great favor. But that doesn't mean I owe you. Waiting for Tai'an. If it's because of your problem. It was discovered by the devil. I risk my life for nothing. I will send you off at the first moment, understand? 10 face virtues reluctantly nod. I understood, and then, The wise man smiled and turned away. Very good, 10 good now, just thoroughly breathe out. In the east, right now, 2 men in red robes walked up the street. It's hard to understand when the dwarf asks for Ra. At Sao, the old man did not choose the location of the bodhisattva left. In the east, clear. The layout on this side is more suitable for evil spirits to appear. But the great Han immediately responded that the number of Dong A's people was too small. Conditions of appearance of bodhisattva cholera is the despair and ruin of sentient beings. If the sacrifice is not enough, the bodhisattva's projection to earth will be limited. It also does not cause a large attrition effect. But I feel it's still too expensive to put 2 false gods in Liao City. 8 less important things to do. The 2 of them stood in the middle of the road. Then the great Han began to press the law. 9 colors enter Hoa. 5 related products. The law of the restoration of dreams. Follow him to the French. All the people around him immediately fell down, sinking into a dream. 10 is standing on the window, looking down the street. I don't know what CA is now. Suddenly, her eyes were so big. I only see the bottom. Are constantly falling down the road unconscious. The scared girl stared down. Not long after, a bout of drowsiness strikes. It makes her eyes. There's no way to open it. I finally fell slowly down by the window and fell asleep. Down the street, the dwarf saw the surrounding scene. There's a little appreciation. I don't know where you got that many. From the day we met until now, I have seen you've used 6 different types of magic. Your past, it's actually made me more and more curious. The great Han replied, it's just that my life is long. A little more than normal people. You have the opportunity to interact with many things, from which to derive more of the primal lineage only. There's nothing to be surprised about. Now, the people of the world have been dragged into my dreams. Then, next we will develop the page of Zhu dream message Kai Dharma, sneaking in the dream of the owner of this letter. Let me ask you a few questions about the law. The dwarf nodded. It doesn't matter. Han quickly stood there. Start law enforcement very quickly. In his head. Then came the picture of food. And save your talent. The person responsible for this letter is 2. The child must be a disciple of a martial artist. Maybe it's a local translation. After a choice, he then went to the dream of Liu Feng. In a dream, he is currently sitting on the spot. When he saw Han coming, he asked him out loud, "Who are you?" Han looked at him. This kid's dream is to get promoted. He saw the attitude of the enemy. Anger hits the table. I dare to see the Lord. Without kneeling 15 ROI. After thinking for a moment, Han said that the opposite, what he's most afraid of, is probably being paralyzed. Come here. The surrounding scene quickly changed. From Russian dangerous roads turned into a dark prison. Big Han glanced at the wrong translation next to him. Order to bring people here. My brother is currently locked up in jail. He came to open the door and looked at him and shouted out, Lord wants to see you. Next, he was led in front of 2 soldiers. Great Han red shirt. Crime Lord Liu Feng has been brought to. Go back down first. After the 2 soldiers left, there were only 2 left. The Chinese began to question him. Except for you. Does anyone know what's on the letter? Keep your head up and look at him. I can't say. Han took out the letter, asked further at Sao, cannot say. Because I agreed with him. Don't reveal anything related to him. What is his name? Don't force me. This person is in the Sao government. Or a wild fighter. Or co-religiosity, a former martial arts masters. I heard him interrogate again and again, save the face changing colors, screaming. Don't ask. I don't know anything about him being so persistent. The Lord says I will not force you. Tell me the reason for your martial arts. Leave the Kai area. Running to Tai and district is an SAO. After a while outside the street, the great Han spirit immediately woke up. The dwarf saw that and asked, Can Father Ra? Big Han nodded yes, except us Ra. One of them also received a letter from him. The dwarf asked who was next. Big Han shook his head. I can't ask the mailman very quietly. I can't get any valuable intelligence in my dreams. But we've identified the source of the variable this time. Where is it? The dwarf heard that. I looked at him again and asked him to explain. Han quickly said Ra is the fish of millions of families in Tai'an district. This person 2 years ago rely on the millions in Liao City. On the way, I met a martial artist. You'll return to the city in a moment. Take care of the lady. East and A we come to handle. The dwarf agreed without hesitation. Then he turned into a cold cloud and slowly walked away. As he watched his friend leave the great Han, he fell into deep meditation. Think for a moment. He's heading towards the district. Very quickly, he came to the front of the wind. He's still in a good dream right now. The Chinese quickly developed their magic. Dream for him. The wind just woke up. I was startled to see the enemy. But he didn't have time to say Ra. He was gagged by a demon in the back. You are surrounded by demons. Make a sign of silence. Just make a little noise and wake up. He looked at the enemy in a sweat. This person I just met in a dream. There's definitely a problem with that dream. He came here specifically to find himself. He saw the expression of Liu Feng. I see you've guessed my schedule. So we're going to get straight to the point. What is the name of the martial artist who received your letter? Where are you now? He asked the devil behind his back. Immediately release the exile Ra. You are the one who is behind the evil of Tai'an district. Do you think I will sell them out? The Lord saw him so steady. There's a little appreciation. Is a loyal SAO. I don't hate, on the contrary, but from ancient times to the present, the price of loyalty is high. I don't know if you can stand it or not. When he finished, he took out a seal from his chest. To save the wind, even though I don't know what it is, but instinctively still afraid to utter. What do you want to do? It's not just torture. Finished talking, Han directly pressed the seal on his forehead. Save the scenery to the Tai side. 2 people do it after a move. We finally got here. Look at the scene on the street. 10 kindness is a little difficult to understand. There are few people here. It's obviously bigger than the East. You are the moral authority, you command. Wait a minute to find a place. We then split the action, collect 10 pieces of intelligence. You go to hell, no problem. 10 earnest nods of agreement. Very quickly, the 2 went to the front of an inn. From inside the second room, I asked, You 2 stop or rent a room. 2 people quickly P2, take the carriage away. And you go inside yourself. Important fund. I was a little surprised to see them coming in. 2 very strange people immediately clasped their hands and said out, We are traders of Hatrach. Take orders from the chief. Especially in Tai'an district, this is my brother. The manager smiled after listening. So it was the first time I came here. Come, follow me. Very quickly, the 2 were led upstairs by the manager. If you're not familiar with this room, tell me. There's a lot of prevention here. After they have arranged them, the manager came down to continue working. Wait for him to go down to the temple and tell 10 good people. We'll split up later. Before the sun goes down, we have to go back to the gym. Then you two go out on your own. Paul news. In the evening, the two returned as scheduled. I just came back 10 years ago and went to bed. I'm tired of being carried around a cage of food. Go to ask, have you heard anything worth paying attention to? 10 quick to sit up and say yes. I discovered out, indigenous people. I don't feel like there are any fewer people here. As opposed to farmers and street vendors. Go to Thai and district to buy. Then you realize this. The master quickly sat down and asked. Listen to it. 10 good people immediately say out, according to their words. The number of people in Thai and district has decreased. It seems to have started 2 years ago. It's about being indigenous. The government and martial arts. I don't seem to care about this. The master nodded. It's no different than the intelligence we're investigating. Thai and district lost 7 so many people. No one reported it to the top. This is not fulfilling the responsibility. The local government has not talked about. Martial artist of Thai and district absolutely has a problem. When 10 people heard it, they were amazed. So what to do now? Even local martial artists have a problem. Cool face humanity review. If you go now, it doesn't fit with our identity. Stay for 2 days. 2 days later, we will return immediately. It was discovered in this Thai and district. Report to the bar. Move the scene to the east after the interrogation. Great Han left the district. The devil has just entered SAO level. Maybe it doesn't have to be so important. Then throw it away and let it go and deal with it. He was walking, and suddenly his eyes widened a little. Towards the inn, where 10 Deem is. Inside the hotel right now, there's a constant sound calling. Don't be vague, girl. Wake up. Monsters can bring the living of the East, eh? Once pulled into a dream. It's very likely. I can see a strange spot on you. Once he finds out, it's over. 10 slowly wake up and rub your eyes. But I'm so sleepy. He walked into the inn thinking. I don't blame you for that. Thai bar at the next historical point will become our most important rival. Then the problem is you. I saw the Han coming, the sound of fear of the ring of jewel. By the way, we've been arrested. 2 people, a big one, staring at each other. After a while, Han asked, let me take the risk. Your master is not nearby. 10 hearing this is difficult to understand. Then her eyes slowly became atheistic. Then from her mouth another strange sound came out. He went out to work and is not currently in the East. If that's the case, then you're guilty. Move the scene to the side. After the great Han left, the illusion was also dissolved. The wrong guy sitting next to me, the wind is slowly waking up. Just slipped to the side, his eyes suddenly grew large. I see only half of my body burning black. Sitting there unconscious. He was scared to scream. Where are you, master? Something has happened. At this point, the moon has reached the top. 10 good people are currently sleeping. Suddenly, the talisman on the bedside caught fire. Make the copper bell hanging their ring. You immediately wake up. The devil enters the spell and the noise is triggered. Then there's the devil here. In the city right now, countless people are leaving their homes on the streets. They gathered in a long line. Let's go in one direction together. 10 people are standing by the observation window. Then the wise man comes from behind and says, normal people have no defenses. You'll get sleepwalking if you hear that sound. Fortunately, before sleeping, we even put the Taoist in the room. Or we'll have to go down now. Go with them. 10 good people turned to look at him and asked if he would follow. Or just ignore it, like you can't see it. Go ahead and see. Make it clear where this drum is ultimately coming from. Then bring the relevant intelligence to the bar. The two then went down the street to join the group. Don't forget to remind yourself of 10 good things. Remember carefully again, no matter what you see. You can't speak up either. Even more unable to reveal the characteristics of martial artists. I'm worried something bad will happen. 10 benevolent nods. I understand people very quickly. Follow the crowd to the door of the city. The crowd has just arrived. The 2 stone lions outside went down to check. I see this situation as a humanitarian. I can't believe it. It's not a mistake. The number of people in Thailand has decreased. Again by a crematorium. Government officials and martial artists of indigenous. What are you doing? Why let it grow so big? After being thoroughly examined by the stone lion, go inside the government. 10 good people are speaking now. It's the million family home of Thai and district. Mentioned in the letter that the master received SAO. Too big to open the door at night. Throw the living into the government. About this, if there's no underground power that agrees. It's absolutely impossible. The government and martial artists together betrayed SAO. If it's not true, maybe they've been swapped. 10 good questions. So do we have the jar? His master is highly capable. It's still in this house. The priest immediately shook his head. It doesn't stop here. We're going back. While they were talking, the 2 stone lions seemed to. They also discovered something. They immediately turned around, staring at where they are. 10 good size say. Those 2 stone lions. Looks like they've figured us out. What to do now? The man calmly replied. Calm down, we haven't revealed. Open air Confucius Ra. Keep breathing like the people around you. See if you can fool them. If you can't hide it, let's split up and run from heaven. 2 stone lions later. Go quickly back to them. They came and immediately bowed their heads and smelled. 10 stress-free people don't know what to do. There was a terrible atmosphere inside the academy immediately. The 2 stone lions don't care about you. 10 more good looking back. They looked at each other a little. Then we went into the academy together. It's daytime inside the academy. It's the exact opposite of outside. The blind boy is kicking people, fighting with something. When he saw the lion coming at him, he turned and shouted. Close the door. Don't let it escape. He just shouted at the academy door to close immediately. The people outside left and went home. 10 good people find that difficult to understand. What happened after all? The Taoists are also amazing. Say Ra. Maybe there's been some kind of mutation inside. Our luck is really in DTO. Just in time to find a life. Let's go back quickly, you 2. Then go back to the inn. The wise man goes to 10 good places. When I saw him go to 10, I asked him how. The innkeeper has not returned. Maybe it was eaten by the devil. I have my doubts about the situation in Thailand. It's growing in a bad way. This place can't stay long. We'll leave soon. 10 earnest nods of kindness. Listen to you. A moment later, the 2 quickly drove away. Go to the gate for a moment. Soldiers passed through. Just out of town, 10 people asked, where are we going to go next? Or tell the government recently that the Taoist glanced at you. Answer you and go ahead. We still haven't finished business. When this is done, I will come back to find you. If there's nothing but will. Maybe 2 days later. When he finished, He jumped into the carriage. Before I left, I didn't forget to remind myself. Remember carefully after returning.